Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Congressman Scott Rigell. But no matter what you say, Congress is this long, so I'm going to ask him to come on up so we have break down maybe on 45 minutes. And I'm sure there are a lot of questions out here that you want to ask. And this is the end of the hour. So,
okay, thank you. I'm delighted to be here tonight. I really am. I appreciate each one of you being here and the opportunity to have a conversation about the future of our country. I'm delighted to see the young people. They're usually youngest of the young people. This is really the mindset that I am thinking about the job that I have the privilege to serve and represent your family. Just mindful of seniors, mindful of young people and the obligation of Christ Jesus. Before I can share a few words with you tonight, I wanted to take a moment to introduce some people that are very special to me. And I'm sure you're proud of your family, so am I. And I'm just delighted that my wife Carrie is here with me. Carrie is my wife of 31 years. I've come to deeply understand and also appreciate the challenges and some of the sacrifices that are made in public service. And I mention that only because I'm just really grateful for the Carrie standing with me, what I refer to as the season of public service. Shannon Kendrick is here on a volunteer basis tonight, and Shannon is our district director, and she represents the office, reaching out to 800,000 people in the district, and she is everywhere. She's at India Fest, she's at job fairs, she's at meeting with our veterans, and just does a wonderful, wonderful job. These two handsome young men back here are just terrific. They're good. Look at Esmel looking behind me. This is Esmel me, and Esmel is your family friend. We met actually through Young Life, so I started coming out of our house each one. We became good friends with our son, and he was looking for some advice on entrepreneurship, and I love young entrepreneurs. We had a great conversation, and from there, we struck up a real friendship, and he has helped us do our first campaign and went to Washington with us and spent about 16 hours a day with me pretty much every day. And then I asked for the campaign side and where you need me to go, and let's go. So I appreciate that, Esmel. Will Ditmar is right next to Jim, and he took over Esmel's whole job. He's working really hard. And then Abby Robinson's in the back, and she's the top of the rock. She takes lots of pictures and does a really good job. We believe in new media. We think it's important to stay connected, and new media is a very practical way to do that, to let folks know where I've been, what we're working on, what's important to us. On Facebook, Twitter, those kind of things. We invite you to join us and participate with us. And we're this great country. Where this great country goes. We have the privilege to be here tonight. One other introduction I want to make in just a moment, but I first want to thank our veterans. because of that, we also have shared kind of a disproportionate burden. We have many, many families that have become, sadly, the result of our families. Their loved ones have been lost in the line of duty. And I say that because I've gotten to know these families, and there's Veterans Day, there's Memorial Day, so for these families every day is Memorial Day. And I'm just mindful of the heavy prices we pay for our freedom. And what a joy it is, as challenging as it is in this time in our country, it's a joy to serve our district, in part because through this journey we just have the neatest people, wonderful people that have just come right up and saddled up alongside me and got friends with you. And I have a good friend that I want to introduce you to tonight. His name's Reverend Wheeler. Reverend Aaron Wheeler, I know him as Rev. Rev is a walking, now don't take this wrong, Rev, but you're a walking piece of history. What I mean by that, he's got a distinguished career in the best of public service and civil rights. And maybe it's time for Vince to cover that tonight, or maybe have him back sometime. He's just got real life experiences that I think really frame some of the challenges that this country has been through, and has good perspective on those challenges that remain. This is a profoundly challenging time in our country. Folks from every walk of life, every country, every state, regardless of race, regardless of faith, regardless of where one lives. When I meet with folks and talk to them, there's just kind of this sense of pain about where we are as a country. The temperature level is quite high in the public square. It's almost like a rock band or something that's playing so loud. The commercials are failure to agree upon really council issues for our country. Now, I used to come home from Washington and start talking about all this policy. And I realized pretty early on, folks want to talk about Washington. They want to talk about why Washington doesn't work. They want to talk about, Scott, what are you doing today? So I'm going to change things around just a little bit tonight. And I'm going to talk about my 4 priorities, but I'm going to reverse them. I'm going to go up and start with changing Congress. And I went to Washington to advance 4 key goals. I went out before the district. I'd never sought office before. It wasn't on the bucket list of life. It wasn't some life dream. I think that's a good thing, actually. And I went up there with 4 steps. First, this is affecting every American. It's hard to get a good job. If you have a good job, you're kind of fearful, well, am I going to keep this good job? We've got folks going off to good colleges and then coming home and living with their parents because of the job market. So, and I've been an entrepreneur for a long, long time, and so just knowing how folks are hurting, we have good friends, 2 dear friends, families who went through bankruptcy, they lost their small businesses, and it's just tough all the way around. Job creation, number 1. The second one is, and I think it's somewhat related to job creation, is, we're on a path right now where we're borrowing 40 cents out of every dollar we spend. And we can talk about how we address this, but we have to get around kind of the big kitchen table in America. We've got to get our budget on. Everyone agrees on this. The president agrees on this. It's not a partisan issue. It shouldn't be. But how do we get our budget where our revenues and our expenses are at the same point, or close to the same point? Because the path we're on now, we're borrowing 40 cents on every dollar. And no nation, no family, can depend on that family. That's important. Third is standing with our men and women in uniform. I'm the son of an Iwo Jima Marine. I'm Richard. And he went off at age 18 to serve and got shot at. And, it inspired me to become a Marine at age 18. But Providence didn't call upon me to the heavy price that's been paid by those who serve our country. and the duty that we have for them, to the fallen, you know, and whatever sacrifice that I think I'm making, and we talk about, I thank you for serving, and it's a real sacrifice. I immediately think of that young corporal was held on cross right now. I should work today. Yesterday, Mom came up to me and she said, she's got a son, Marine, held on cross. It's very real. So, our folks are sacrificing. So standing with our men and women in uniform, making sure that, you know, what we promised them with respect to TRICARE, for example, that's taken care of. And I have other key priorities, making sure that Medicare is protected for our seniors, making sure that we have a strong educational system. That fourth key priority is this, is changing Congress rather than having conversations. And, you know, I went to Washington, and I'm there now to serve, not to be served. I believe in leadership by example. It's a principle I learned at Harris Island at AJC. There's nothing those young drill instructors asked of us. They didn't pursue themselves. They always modeled, led by example, what they were asking of us. And so I thought, okay, here's what we can start out with. I cut my salary, almost $50,000, returning it to the Treasury. Now, I'm not saying everyone should do that, nor am I saying that will fix our national deficit. It's long. It's dropping the bucket. But it's a way of saying we're all in. I declined all federal benefits, the retirement program, the health insurance program. I have self-imposed term limits, 12 years, because I think it's best that people serve and come home and not make it a career. I realized pretty soon up there that a lot of the lobbyists that come to see me, you know what their background is? They're former members of Congress. Congress, in many ways, is just a little farm team growing lobbyists. So they can go out and make 2 or 3 times what they normally make in Congress as a lobbyist. This is wrong. And so I thought, what can I do now? Not waiting for legislation, but what can I do right now to help stop that? I thought, well, I'm not going to meet with any former member of Congress. If they're coming in like a lobbyist, I'm not. You just tell my scheduler, I won't meet with them. Flat out won't meet with them. Now think through that for just a second. I'm only one of 435, but if all 435 did, you turn off the spigot. There'd be no demand. No former member of Congress could ever get anything, he'd never get in the door. This is good. We're having some positive impact. Now, the first thing I did as a new member, it took me a little while to get my sea legs, about 6 months or so, just to figure out where the different meeting rooms are, like this one. And I realized that, well, all the Republicans sit over here, and all the Democrats sit over here. You barely have a chance to get to know your Republican colleagues if you're Republican. The same is true if you're a Democrat. So there's like hardly any discussion or meeting between the two. And y'all send a businessman up to Washington. If a deal isn't getting done and things aren't in communication before, then my whole point is we've got to get together. We've got to get together, we've got to listen to one another and find common ground. And there are these little organizations in Congress called caucus. And caucuses are like a little group of people, like the 6 folks here, the Red, the Kerry. Y'all might say, you know, what's really important to us is cranberries. That's true. Cranberries is really important. So we're going to form a group that's going to advance the cause of cranberries. And y'all might like to fish. Shannon might like to saltwater fishing. So you start a caucus that helps saltwater fishing. We have a couple of hundred, maybe more, caucuses. I look around and think, now where's the caucus that's focused on fixing what is threatening every American's future? Every American's future. Where's the caucus that's focused on fixing the institutions? There wasn't. I said, well, I'll start. And we did. It's called the Fixed Congress with it, and 2 Democrats. Good men. women are helping too. We got good men. This is Jim Cooper out of Tennessee, Kurt Schrader out of Oregon. And we got together and I said, listen, y'all, I need some help. We got to fix this place. I mean, I have a great sense of urgency. And we all got together and started having meals. And Terry and I, we invited them over to a place that we have there, lunch, breakfast, dinner, and they said, Scott, this is unusual. People don't do much of this stuff in Washington. I said, well, I don't know better. In fact, I know this is what must be done. And I pitched in a little bit, but Terry does a lot of but I pitched in too. And there's something about having meals with people, getting to know them as people, as individuals. And it reaffirms what we already know, is that we're all in this together. And that there's so much more that binds us together. And that the path we're on, I know this, we cannot stay on the path of just firm isolation. And so we got together. And we said, now what do we want to do? Conversation went all over the place. We could go in a lot of different directions. And Jim Cooper said, look, he said, I got this bill. It's a really good bill, but I can use some bipartisan support. It's called the No Budget, No Pay Act. We had my attention right away because Congress hasn't passed a budget in 3 years. It's hurting our country. And he said, it's a simple bill. It says that if Congress doesn't pass a budget, then we don't get paid. I said, sign me up as a co-sponsor. It's that simple. There's a disconnect of accountability in Washington. And so we got behind his bill, and now what we're doing, this is really good. This is the one key thing we are driving home. I'm a Republican, driving home a Democrat bill. And I'm happy to do it. It's good legislation. So I'm going around to my Republican friends and saying, look, I need your help. I need your help on this bill. And we got a lot of co-sponsors. I don't think we get a pass this year. We're going to reintroduce it first thing next session. Here's my view on it. If you want to run for office in America, you've got two choices. I mean, clear yourself and vote party candidate. Just the reality is, hey, it's not going to get your from. The Democrats, Republicans, you sign up as one, and that's not really where the American people are. It's more like it's kind of a continuum, And so I think it was almost like two circles, Democrats and Republicans. You start moving them together, and what do you have? At some point, they start to overlap, these two circles. Where do those circles overlap? That's common ground. That's common ground. And when you have common ground, we need to celebrate it and have the courage to vote for it. And I'm here tonight to stand by my track record on that. And I've got specific votes if you'd like me to, and the question and answer time, I'd be happy to walk you through what those votes are. Or you say, Scott, okay, you're telling me you're finding common ground. I'll be happy. That's a lot of what we're doing on fixing the institution itself. It is leading by example and giving back and just having more of a servant attitude than what I get out of this deal. It's being very proactive, very deliberate, and reaching out and making friendships across that aisle that's always referred to. And it's also this, I'll close this point with this, is that it's elevating the civility of the public debate. We've always had spirited debate in America. This is normal. We have spirited debate in our homes. We're not going to agree on everything. This is normal. We're going to have spirited debate. It can be civil. And what I'm going to share with you right now, this is very important to me. I fully recognize that I'm at the NAACP. I get it. All right. But I want you to hear something. The best compliment I ever got was from this young man at no age. We got in the car, I don't know what was it, 7 or 8 months ago, something like that, I don't know. You got to sing to every group of people. And I thought, forgive me. What I'm saying to you here, I've said to Republicans. What I'm saying to you here, I've said to business people. I've said to veterans. I've said to teachers. The message doesn't change. It might hit on a different topic or two. That's normal. But the message you're going to hear right now is the same message I tell big groups all the time. And here are the three things, three specific steps. One is increasing the level of respect and civility in our public today. I was raised by Richard, the Iwo Jima veteran that I mentioned earlier, and he taught me to respect the office. And the person, the office, to respect the office, he taught me to say yes, sir, and no, sir. Now, that's a southern thing, but I'm always, and I do now, and it's not hard for me to do, and I'm offended when others don't do it. I refer to the president. He's the president in our home. When we go for a walk in the morning through the neighborhood and pray for our country, which I hope we do, we start at the top and work our way down. This is part of the fabric that holds us together in America. It's a basic level of respect. I never refer to it as Obamacare. Now maybe I'll start to have to because the president has embraced this term. He's not kind of fond of it. But I always thought that Obamacare personalized a policy to a person. Now, I'd like to debate the Affordable Care, Patient Protection Affordable Care Act on its merits, or what we might disagree or agree on. It's not specific to a person. Second, again, you sent a businessman to Washington. I just have this passion. And I know it's a good passion for knowing what are the facts of the matter. In Washington, it is so difficult to get good facts. Let me take a little sandpaper to my own party. And please know that for whatever amount of sandpaper I can take to my own party, the same could be true. I can find something with the Democratic Party where they kind of overstate it. So let me start out with my own part. You'll hear some Republicans say that the president is slashing the defense budget. President Obama is slashing the defense budget. I'm going to leave the title off. See what? Obama slashing the defense budget. What's that do? Under the president's budget, the defense spending goes up every year, albeit by a small amount. I'm not here to defend the president, or I'm not running against the president. I'm running here to second district. But my point is, you won't hear me say that the president slashes the defense budget. Now, the president and I have some disagreements on, like energy, for example. I support coastal Virginia energy, 18,000 local jobs. He's got a full moratorium on that. I disagree with him on that. It's okay. I can disagree with president. Right? But where does the facts lead us? What are the facts of the matter? What are the true facts? They're hard to get. But it's worth it. And then finally, it's not questioning the motives of those who do this. I know my friends on the other side of the aisle. Who wants America to go bankrupt? No one.
Donald Trump.
Well, he's a kind of an odd fellow. But I don't know of an American, I don't know of a member of Congress who wants us to go bankrupt. And I'll say in the same breath, when I hear folks say, well, I'm an environmentalist, well, I think, well, I am too. I mean, we have a moral obligation to leave our children with clean air and clean water and clean soil. I don't get a chance to go out to the third island anymore, but some of you know what I'm talking about. You get out there and if the strikers are running, you come home and say, Gary, we got some strikers. I don't want to come home with a striker with a lesion on it or 3 eyes. I want our baby to get cleaner and cleaner. So I don't speak to my friends, and they may care as much about the poor as I do, if not more. I mean, I'm an advocate for this coastal Virginia energy bill bill that I introduced, 18,000 local jobs. I'm like, Mr. President, sir, with all due respect, get out of the way. Let me create some jobs here locally. These are good for our children. And it generates the tax revenues that we need for better roads, fluvial roads that we have, and better schools, and better opportunities for our young people. Now, the President might disagree with all that, but I don't question his motives. I don't question his motives. For those who disagree with him on the side. The same thing about our seniors. My two widowed aunts. They have essentially nothing. A Social Security check. That's it. And Medicare. I go to Washington. I want Aunt Mary Jo and Aunt Florence to have that. But this is true. If you look back at the facts, the President has said, the CBS Congressional Budget Office says, listen, if we don't make some changes in about 9 or 10 years, we're done. Now, this is sobering. And herein lies the dilemma. We've got some tough decisions ahead, y'all. And at our very best, working together, and as we should, putting America before anything else, if we come together as Americans, and even in that mindset, it is going to be very difficult. We have a 1/3 increase in the number of seniors in the next 10 years. We have $16 trillion in debt. Interest, I'm not trying to make accounts out of everybody, but hang on here for a second. Heavy lift to keep the Republicans center of the channel. And I'm kind of unapologetic now about saying this is a tough fix to bring. We have $16 trillion of debt. A 1% increase in interest rates is $160 billion a year in interest. And interest rates are at an all-time low. And again, I don't want to lose you with statistics and start throwing a bunch of numbers on the board, but my point is this. When you're leveraged, when you owe a lot of money, like we do, you get so risky. And I fear for my children and your children and our grandchildren. When I say fear, I don't mean the fear like you're scared of something. It's just the fear of the good thing. It makes you want to get up and go to work and find the right solutions. The revenues have got to come up. I've been very clear with this. It puts me in somewhat of a minority position in my party. That's all right. The numbers lead me to this conclusion. And I tell my friends, I say, you got to help us on the spending side. You can't tax your way out of where we're going. This is true. So I've been a strong advocate, to look back at where we've been historically as a country and say that's where we need to go. What seems so common sense to me, it apparently is unusual in Washington, but it's gotten the attention of a lot of different people. Time Magazine, wrote about some of the work that we're doing to change Congress and some of the ideas that I have. That's some other people kind of come alongside. Well, there's a lot more that I can talk about. I have lots of stories and things I've learned over these last 2 years, and little stories about pushing back against my party or some things we've been able to do in the district and being strong advocates for our men and women in uniform here locally when our young enlisted folks were in housing that had mold in it. And I said, that's not acceptable. And we held, Navy leadership accountable if they did this right. I visited these homes until we got it right. And, the contaminated drywall. Folks that install drywall in their homes only to find out 6 months later that their health is suffering, that their homes are uninhabitable. And you know what? One of the last things we did before we left Washington, we had Democrats and Republicans come together and pass a bill that I introduced with unanimous consent, meaning every Democrat, every Republican supported it, a bill that would hold the Chinese responsible for bringing contaminated drywall into this country. And I got a call from Senator Nelson, who was a Democrat out of Florida, and said, we're going to push this bill through the Senate. And I said, oh, this is good. And a little old freshman from Virginia just might get a bill passed into law and signed by President Obama. And I'd be delighted to be there in his office because I'm sure he'd ask to go. That's what they did. All buttoned up and turned into a national monument. And if y'all want to know the history of Foreman Road, you need to. there's some powerful American history there that is fully aligned with the values, the goals, the objectives, and mission of the NAACP. It is a rich and proud history here of the NAACP, the work that it's done, you've done through the years. Time won't permit us to get on all that. I'll cover that later in the slide. But I do appreciate the opportunity to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to serve you and your family. And I welcome, conversation, any questions that you might have. I am Scott Rigell, and I just appreciate the opportunity to be with you and to serve you, not to be served, and to go to Washington and do what's right for America and our children, and representing all of our community. And that's what I'm all about. I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Hey,
President.
2 years ago, man and I,
Yes.
health care.
Yes.
He made plans, he just didn't say quick enough, yes or no. Hey, what do you see wrong with health care, what do you see right with health care?
Yeah, okay, very good. It is one of those things where so often in Washington, a bill will have some things you like and some things you don't like. Now, let's look at that particular bill. I was very clear. There's a lot of leadership all throughout our community. They sit down, I'll speak in this office, and they say, Scott, where are you on the health care bill? And I said, to Isabel's point, I said the same thing to every person I met. I said, I think there's a better way to do this. What I like about it, I like the portability. People can go from, carry their coverage with it. I think the exchanges are good. And I think the pre-existing conditions, not having exclusions for that, is a good thing. And if you go back to our business, which isn't too far from here, we've always allowed and never asked about pre-existing conditions at our business. I never could see myself doing that. And I knew we could lower our premiums if we did by having pre-existing condition exclusions, but I never felt good about that. And so we've always allowed folks to have pre-existing conditions to come in. We don't ask them, what they might have. Now let me tell you what concerns I have with it. I met just the other day. First of all, it is a massive bill. It was Speaker Pelosi at the time, she was Speaker, she said, we have to pass it to no intent. Those aren't my words, those are hers. That's not good legislative process. I met with a business owner the other day, small, heating air conditioning company, not some big shot company, and his insurance agent too. And there's a brand new fee that's coming online, and we said, well, how much is the fee? And he said, Congressman, that's why I'm here. We can't find out what the new fee is. It's an annual fee, and I don't have the name with me. I can get it for you if you'd like to know. But it sounds like four words, long, convoluted, Washingtonian, kind of fee. And they said, it's out of the bill. And it's embedded in the bill. And so no one knows what the amount is. And here's where I disagree with the President. And like I said, there's a lot of things that the President and I have in common, but when I have a distinction, and he's driving that along with Speaker Pelosi at the time, I need to let you know. Here we were in the midst of the most significant downturn in the economy that I could ever remember. This was an extraordinary time. Our business was losing so much money per month. I remember telling Terry, I said, Terry, this keeps up for another 10 or 12 months. We're done. Freedom for it, we're done. No one's going to loan us any money. The money, it was just big brackets. I've never seen anything like it. It's in the midst of that time that all of this was pushed through. The timing was, in my view, not good. It injected a lot of uncertainty. And what I'm hearing from a lot of seniors, and I know to be true, there's a 15-panel board. This board is going to essentially get between the patient and the doctor. The doctors aren't happy about it. And And this board makes recommendations on how to cut Medicare expenses, and if Congress doesn't approve them or come up with alternatives, then that becomes law. What this board, unelected, they're unelected, they're the ones that are going to tell a senior what kind of coverage and they're going to be able to access. I don't think this is good. There are over 20 or I think it's even 25 doctors in the House of Representatives. And, you know, there are Dr. Price out of Georgia and others, and I have signed up and co-sponsored H.R. 3000, and Dr. Price and others, we work together and just have a specific list of really, I think, prudent changes in Medicare that would keep us, not Medicare, but healthcare generally, that would lower costs, keep it more accessible to more people, and really keep the doctor-patient relationship intact, which I think is important. And on a related note, on Medicare, let me make this really perfectly clear, because you see a lot of stuff kind of flying around on the TV screen. Thankfully, it'll be over on November the 6th, maybe even November the 5th, they ask to stop, I don't know. But no plans is being contemplated at all. I mean, there are no changes for anyone who is 55 years or older. If you're 55 years or older, and I've learned not to ask anybody what their age is, but no changes at all. If you're 55 or older, I really can't repeat that enough. No changes. Now, if you're 54 or younger, the changes are modest, they occur over time, and I feel good about the alternative that we put forth, and if there are other alternatives, we can look at those. Oh, yes, no, please. Maybe we'll be time here.
First of all, during the last election, I was not in the district, so because of the district, but I don't think, but I really remember your last campaign. The only thing that your campaign for locally was that you wanted to get rid of that, which you've done. Okay. You say that you're bipartisan, and everything that I read about you, you're not bipartisan. In fact, you're more partisan to me when I read the very cancer, and that's saying a lot.
I'll be happy to talk about that after you finish.
Okay. Let's talk about the bill that you voted, the Title I, the Title 7 Project, the family planning that you voted against, which would provide that stream of breast cancer, certain cancer patients. Right before you went to Washington, there was a saying out called the drive-through breast cancer, where you go in, Congress is trying to pass, you go in, you have the surgery one day and send home the next day. That couldn't pass, but you come back and after you say you go with this. I'm a 11-year breast cancer survivor, and you talk about reduction of Medicare and TRICARE. Well, I'm over 55, but I'm also a widow of the Marine. And doing my recovery for breast cancer, my prescription, one prescription was over $600 for a 30-day prescription. Had I not had TRICARE and my Blue Cross, I wouldn't have been able to afford that. And there are so many women out here now that can't afford it, but yet still you want to decrease the funding for that. These are all partisan voting that you've done. And the ones are the personhood bill, which will outlaw all abortions, rape, incest. I don't know what your opinion was when you voted for that. You voted to cut funding or reduce it for the Pell Grant to help our students go to college. You voted against the WIC program for mothers. There's just so many things that you have voted against you. You can stand and tell us that you're partisan, you're bipartisan, and you're not.
I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the question. And, the first thought is that regarding the medical challenges opportunity is the fact that you've asked a series of questions, because it will allow me to dispel a series of myths and things that have been said that are untrue. We cast about 1,500, actually more than 1,500 votes tonight. 1,500. One of the things I learned pretty early on is that both parties, not just Democrats, but Republicans, when they are in the minority, are misusing something called a motion to recommit. And that probably doesn't mean much to you, but it's a procedural vote. After a bill is brought to the floor, before it is voted on final passage, the minority party, in this case the Democrats, but prior to that it was Republicans doing this, will bring a bill to the floor that is designed for one purpose. It's designed to put the majority party in a bad light. And so often what happens is if you vote for the motion to recommit, it also sends the bill after the committee. You never pass the bill. So it's like a catch-22. You vote for the bill, it goes back to the committee, doesn't pass the House. You vote against the bill, and you end up in a forum where somebody's standing up and says it doesn't horrible. Now, the fact that we've cast 1,500 votes, it is my mind can't quite, grasp and say, okay, what bill? Now, I can share with you this, and this, now let me share, if I may, this is, I don't have the numbers with me tonight, but I can get them. If you look at the Congressional Budget Office, which I've done, it's the spending, look at the spending that we even in the midst of an extraordinarily challenging time where we're borrowing 40 cents, every dollar that's spent, we're not paying for it, we're borrowing it essentially from China and other countries. We're burdening, young people, we lost 2 young people here, they left. But even in the midst of that, and I think what we need to do, as well, is send to the members, if willing, the leadership, you send to the members, where the funding has actually gone up. So you can take a particular bill and you say, Scott, you voted to do this. Well, it's probably all likely the motion would be made. That's horrible. And part of what I'm trying to do with the Fixed Congressman Health Office is to stop it. And in fairness and in full disclosure, Republicans were doing this to Democrats before. If you rewind the tape, what I said with respect to Speaker Pelosi was this. And I still hold this view, man, is that I didn't see the discipline that's needed. See, it's so easy to come in and tickle the ear and say, well, no, we need to spend more on this and more on this and more on this. What do you want to hear? What do you want to hear? What do you want to hear? What are you looking for? It's so easy to do that. And say, gosh, well, I'll tell this group what they want to hear. I'll tell the senior veterans what they want to hear. I'll tell the small business owners what they want to hear. Make them get real life. That's how we got into this. We're on the cliff. And so, in the midst of a very challenging time, and I don't want to get this over here because I know the young man there is running as a reporter, and his intent here is not to, his intent is to, have me say something that's actually incorrect or whatever. So I'm going to have to get all these facts, but I reviewed them the other day, and I'll tell you what, education, I believe, went up, and Pell Grants, all these things, there's a tremendous amount of funding going into this program. Tremendous amount of funding. And let me share one thing. I probably go on, probably not best, but I had the president of one of our universities here, one of the most prestigious universities in Virginia, come on my office. And she said, Congressman, please help us. We want Pell Grants, but at the same time, there's tremendous fraud in this Pell Grant program. Some folks are gaming the system. They're getting a tremendous amount of money, saying it's going toward education. They're not spending it. They don't even show up at class and get a check to their house. And I'm like, and here's help us cut out the fraud. Now, this makes sense to me, and I'm saying, we could probably cut back to about 5% and really go after the fraud. The people that need it need. And we need to get that help to them. But we also, as a family, as an American family, have to be really smart about our budget. And let me cover something explicitly. I don't know how this fellow running against me thinks he knows what I believe with respect to a woman's right to an abortion. Okay? I don't know quite. He never asked me. He interpreted that bill much differently than I do. Okay? Maybe we can bring that up in debate or something. Yes, sir. Oh, well, I'm sorry, you first. And then, well, I'm not very good at keeping order here, but I think we're here, and ma'am, you're next. And then I think somebody needs to help me out. If not, I'll get in trouble if I start. I don't want anyone offended, just, because.
So here's the health care plan the president put forth. It allows my wife and I to keep our youngest son on our insurance policy. He was a single business owner, and he couldn't afford insurance. I wish your feelings about that, because we think it was a beneficial to us, and a lot of other families, because my son just ended up being one hospital visit from being bankrupt.
It's about 26 or less.
25.
Yeah. Listen, I've supported that, and basically increasing the limit. I mean, I've been very clear on that.
But I think the new policy is that we're going to eliminate it, period.
Well,
and then if they eliminate the period, my son has to go to the hospital the next day, it's bankrupt.
well, the alternatives before us are imperfect, but I think the Democrats aren't going to get all they want. Republicans aren't going to get all they want. There's compromise. I think we can find a way to figure out what we agree on. And I don't, like when it gets to the IPAD board, the Independent Patient Advisory Board, you'll see me kind of dig in a bit, because I don't think that's best for our country. Not when I talk to doctors, not when I talk to providers. But those things about your son being able to stay after college, he's still 26, I'm fine with that.
We're paying the premium. We're paying the premium for that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I really am. I mean, I don't.
I'm afraid that there's a change while they're trying to work it out. My son gets sick, and then go.
Well, I'd say that there's some possibility of that, but I'd say it's very low. I really wouldn't. All I can tell you is I wouldn't spend, I think, respectfully, much time worrying about that. I mean, I would see that. What I hear my colleagues saying, the ones who are concerned about the bill, is the fact that individuals are having to pay for something they're being forced to buy something, which is for the first time in American history, being required to buy that. And there's supposed challenges with respect to the law. Most people acknowledge that. I mean, that it's imperfect, it needs to be at least modified in many respects. Many Democrats agree with that. But the point that you're bringing up there is not one that I hear. I think they're fine. I really don't see anybody trying to change that. I don't. If I did, I'd share it with you. This gentleman, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm not going to speak about stuff that is super detailed where you had to vote on something. I'm asking about something that you actually co-sponsored, which is the bill that redefines race and enforcement.
Now, this is categorically, absolutely false. The bill that came to the House floor did not include that language. And this is the sad part of politics, because I don't know where you got your information, who's either provided to you or in your own research, you guys got to a bad source. That is categorically not true. I don't hold to that view, and I haven't. I think that the military has an obligation there. We've got to really to figure out what's going on in VA, because the number of cases has really grown in the last several years. The administration's put more money toward that, we've been supportive of that, we voted for more funding for that, but it's an enormous challenge. I spent time, we were at the Air Force Association dinner the other night. I sat next to a couple, their son's a Marine, their other son is an Army officer. And the Army officer had been so traumatized in Afghanistan that he could only drive his car about 10 minutes, and he just had to get out of his car because of the ID that he experienced. And sir, this is a challenge of the highest order. The human mind is all the research at Johns Hopkins and the world's leading universities. We don't quite have this figured out for post-traumatic stress. And we're doing everything we can. The key is the right funding level, which is even more. And second is holding these programs accountable for results, knowing where the best program is going to give the best results, to help our men and women come home and defend our country, to just reintegrate into society. And let me point out one thing here with respect to that. I was one of just a handful, and ma'am, to your point, I'd like to share with you a few votes that I believe are defining votes. And they were not easy. In some sense they were, because they represent my core conviction. But my party was going this way, and I was going this way. Very early on, I introduced a bill that would be funded, Operation Odyssey 9. That's where we went in and started launching Tomahawk missiles into Libya. Not one provision of the War Powers Act was met. And I've had problems with Republican presidents, Democrat presidents, but when we start launching missiles into another country, in my view, that's an act of war. And the president had time to go to the United Nations. They didn't have time to come to the House to call for a joint session. That was not right. So keeping our men and women out of harm's way in the first place is important to me. I was one of just a handful of Republicans who voted with Ranking Member Smith, a Democrat, in House Armed Services, for Ranking Member Smith's amendment, which would bring our troops home sooner from Afghanistan. And I'm told by my friend, Scott, you're going to be labeled as anti-truth. And I said, no. Our men and women have gone several times, 8, 9 times overseas. They're tired. So keeping our troops from going into harm's way in the first place is part of the long-term solution. Less people getting banged up and hurt. There's others, but I got more votes.
Brian, you like to make talk to the
I'm with you.
Brian, you get there.
Question, regarding the question there. Anything stated about what James Pelosi stated about activity over before we know what's in it. And she may have said that in articulately, very much. But we know that the bill was available for many people to view and read. And there may have been the talking point that no one's been reading it, but it was available online for many people to read. Many people could have read it or chose not to, maybe they did not read it, whatever. And then you had stated also about the fact that in the Affordable Care Act there is the IPAC board, which is recommended there to determine whether review over procedures and try to see it as the most cost-effective as well as bring about the most assistance to the patient and to a large majority of people as possible with procedures. Which is one of the reasons to resist is not just get in the way of the doctor and the patient, but to find the most cost-effective way of going about doing a procedure. With all that being said, and however you may have explained it, how exactly will we be able to first or believe things that may be said from you regarding whether or not they're actual actually a factual comment.
Well, I can share with you this, it's not in dispute, that $700 billion was taken out of Medicare.
That's true.
Yeah. A lot of folks aren't very happy with it, including myself. And you say that the Affordable Care Act was neutral with respect to our nation's debt. The Congressional Budget Office has come back and said, no, it's not revenue, it's going to cost. And in the midst of all of this economic uncertainty and having structural trillion-dollar deficits, see, I'd ask any Republican, and forget the labels, just basic math. I'd say, if you don't like the Ryan budget, the House Republican budget, what's the alternative? What is the alternative that you have us look at? And, you ask Minority Leader Pelosi, and she'd say, well, I don't like the Ryan budget. I'd say, well, no, that's not the question. Where's your plan to reconcile revenues and expenses? She said, well, I don't like the Ryan budget. This is not leadership in my view. The same is true of Senator Reid. And I was so frustrated with Senator Reid, I wrote him a letter and asked him to come over to our house for dinner. He was very kind. He said, well, my wife is ill. I don't go out at night, but I'd be happy to meet you. And I met with Senator Reid. And there's no definitive plan. I'm going to give you a plan. You may critique it. I critique it. It's not the plan that's perfect, but I can give you a plan, and I would say humbly that it represents political courage to put this forward. I think it's pretty much over. Let me say this. I appreciate this conversation. These are not easy questions. I've done my best to answer them accurately, truthfully. I'm always happy to provide backup information. If you catch me with a bill that I don't understand, that's entirely possible. We circle back around. But I will say this. I make every effort that I can to listen, to serve this beautiful and wonderful community. When I say that, beautiful and wonderful, I'm not referring to this community. I'm talking about sector. It's a wonderful, wonderful community. And I consider it a real honor and privilege to serve. I'm a seasoned servant. As a seasoned, not who I am. I'm not here for a help. Come to see us in Washington. Bring your children. They need to understand that it's their institution. Okay? Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Now, what we usually do is we'll stand outside for 15 minutes. Just walk outside for all the people who presented this presentation.
How's that?
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Let's do a minute. We're going to have a seat. Yeah. Pretty truly, I mean, I don't go to your house and disrespect. I don't expect people to come to their house and disrespect. Yes, you come in and like to do something, respect our house. That's what I expect. From any campaign that's going on in this area. But you go back and tell them Bob Ross said that ask you not to record, you can record this, but this is our house and we were very respectful. If we just, last month we just rented this street, the other campaign was here, and I don't expect you to come in my house and disrespect. Thank you.
I'd like to go to the
Sure.
It's clear. But it's providers that have been misappropriating funds. It's not coming from my Medicare. It is not. And see, when you say that, you make people to believe that. And you did co-sponsor that bill now. If they put it on the internet that you didn't do it, then you should go back and correct it because you did put it on there about incest. And you say you didn't know the one about
Does the bill talk about incest?
It talks about rape, incest,
It does?
and certain forms of birth control.
No, it doesn't.
And also
It
the bill that
I know the bill. Ma'am, this is factually incorrect.
okay. And you
Your
said the
people
bill
are
nobody leads me.
Well, then have you had it
I'll go back and read it again. And also the one about the pilgrim and all you said that wasn't true. Your vote was going to be 277 on that. So if you didn't vote on
No.
somebody.
I'm saying the motion to recommit, everyone
But
has
you
got to vote.
voted for it. Whether it's passed or not, you voted for it. You voted for it. And that's the same with the majority.
I'm here, proud of my record.
Whether it's passed or not, you voted for it. Whether it's passed or not, you voted for it. Well, go ahead.
You don't remember me, do you?
I do remember.
From where?
I don't remember where.
No state.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I just want to shake your hand.
That we have all of these people that we are voting into office don't even want to come and sit down to the table and talk and work things out. That's one thing I can respect Ronnie said during the debate, and then it really got my attention. He said I might have been a failure. Get around so I can get my but I was able to get people that
Well, that's why we're having.
but that's a choice that people make to not work together. That's a possible choice that everybody decides.
Well, with the short time I have with you tonight, I hope I was able to give you a vision of how we go.
I'll be in touch. I want to know how much hopefully by Friday.
All the elections are somebody else's fault.
Do apologize. Thank you. Campaign. Good.
I wouldn't want to be no politician.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
I know. Get more
It was during the same time that the vote had just out here.
I remember you.
Good to see you. I'm Scott Rigell.
I remember you. Hi, how are you? Did you see the book?
I heard about that. I heard about that. Well, good to be with you. Thank you.
Okay. See you soon, baby.
Hey, baby, how you doing?
How you doing, Mr. Rigell?
All right.
We have to get that one.
Good.
Oh, wait, quit.
All right, Scott. Thanks so much.
All right.
Say a little church for me, will you? You might see James. Let's do that. Now listen, they say if you want to get together and have a beer with a politician,